Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Caitlin and today we're going to talk about Notgrass Our Star-Spangled Story. So we have just wrapped up this curriculum for the year, and now that we're done, I wanted to give a review over it. So a little background, I have two children that I've used this with. My oldest is 7 and he just finished first grade, and my second oldest is 5 and he is technically, I guess, preschool. We don't do any super structured curriculum at that age. However, he sits in on most of our lessons, and he likes to do what older brother is doing, and so we used it with him as well. We use Classical Conversations. If you are a CC family, you probably recognize some of my stuff up here on the wall. But we use Classical Conversations, and that has a history component in it. And so technically you don't have to add anything else, especially at this young age. That is plenty for history. However, my kids absolutely love the history portion of CC. That's their favorite part. And they really love the history sentences, and they love to do supplemental stuff. And so this last year, when I found out we were going to be doing American history for cycle 3, and then I found out about Notgrass Our Star-Spangled Story, I was like, I feel like this is going to be something my kids would really, really enjoy. So while I don't have to add in a history curriculum, I decided to go ahead and supplement with this one just because I knew my kids would love it. So this is what we did this year, and we loved it. The kids loved it. I loved it. So let me tell you a little bit about it, okay? All right, so Our Star-Spangled Story is an American history curriculum set for younger kids. Notgrass says like kindergarten to 4th grade is kind of their age range for that. Like I said, mine are first grade and preschool. And we did not do the whole entire thing. And as I show you what all comes as part of the curriculum, I'll tell you the things that we did and the things that we did not do. But it is an amazing curriculum. It's got a ton of different components that I'm gonna show you, but the premise of it is American history. It starts at the very beginning with, how did people get to America? It talks about early Native Americans, Puebloans, and then it does launch, of course, into, the early explorers, but I like that it doesn't just start with Christopher Columbus, like a lot of traditional stories about America. So I like that. And then it goes through current day. The most current event is September 11th, 2001. And then there's a couple of lessons after that, but they're very generic, like one lesson about technology and how that's changed, and some lessons about some homeschool families of current day, that kind of stuff. But as far as the last major event that's covered, September 11th. So, but it covers, a big majority of American history. So it comes with 2 textbooks. There's 90 lessons total, so 45 in each book. For our family, we were able to do that. We did the first book and finished it around Christmas, and then picked up with the second book and are finishing it at the end of the school year. And that worked well for us. There is this book called Rhythms and Rhymes, and it has poems and music and even a couple of dances that go along with different periods in history that will go with the textbook. And I'm going to show you kind of how that's laid out in a second. There is a timeline book that goes through a timeline of U.S. history and goes along with things that you're reading in your textbooks. There is a student workbook, and then there is a answer key for the parents and a literature guide. There is also a supplemental literature package that you can get. I believe it's 8 chapter books, and the books are selected. They're not written by Notgrass. They're, things like Farmer Boy from the Little House on the Prairie series. They are selected because they are about kids and from specific areas of time that you're studying in the curriculum. We did not do the literature sets. I don't have it to show you, but you can purchase that from Notgrass as part of the curriculum, separate from the curriculum, or you can just find those books on Thrift Books, probably. I would assume. I haven't looked it up. So anyway, that's kind of what all comes with it. Then there is, for the Rhythms and Rhymes book, there are MP3s of all the poems being read and the songs being sung, and those are free download on their website. You can also just listen to them online streaming if you don't want to download them. So that's kind of what comes with it. All right, so how the lessons are kind of set up or structured, and I'm gonna flip the camera around in just a minute and show you what they look like in the book. But basically, it's 90 units, and each unit has 3 lessons plus a unit project. So for us, that worked really well. We did the first three lessons on 3 days of the week. We have CC on 1 day of the week, and so we don't do additional school at home on those days. And then the last day of the week, we would do the unit project if we were picking to do that. I didn't always do that. So each chapter has, of course, your reading, like any history textbook will have. There's lots of fantastic pictures that go along with it that talk, show things from that time. As it gets more current, it will be actual photographs of things that happened during that event. It ends with a Bible verse, which I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it is a Christian-based, biblical-based curriculum. So just FYI, if that's something that is important to you. Then at the end of the chapter, they have a sidebar that tells you, okay, go look on your map and find the different cities you talked about. Or if there is a rhyme or a poem or a song or a dance that goes along with that chapter, they'll direct you to the book. They may have you look through the timeline book at a couple of pages to see where this is all kind of laying out. It will tell you if there is a workbook page to do, and then it tells you what literature goes along with it if you're reading the supplemental literature books. And then it has review questions, and it has what they call hands-on history, which is a suggestion of a couple of other activities that your child can then take and do in addition on their own. And then, like I mentioned, at the end of the unit, so after the 3 lessons, there's a unit project, and that is a variety of more like extension activities, I guess. There are some recipes. There was one project we did making George Washington's favorite breakfast, which were these pancake things. And for World War II, we made a cake that was made without using rationed ingredients like eggs and butter. There's one where it's a smoothie recipe when you talk about the 200th birthday of America. There's crafts. We did pottery when we studied the Puebloans. There was, origami Mayflower boats. We did hand-woven baskets. Then there's also some games that they have some weeks. There's a skit that your kids can perform. There's even service project ideas like making a care package or making like letters to mail to people. So lots of just cool different activities that you can do at the end of the unit to expand on that. So I love, as you can see, it's a very robust curriculum. It's not just, here's a history book, read it. You got history, of course, you have geography, you have fine arts, you have literature, you have crafts and, music, poetry, dance, cooking, and then Bible. I mean, it's just got a whole lot of components to it, which is really cool. I like how it pulls all of that in. All right, so I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you a sample lesson. All right, so this is lesson 14. It's about the 13 colonies declaring independence. So here is your lesson, your stories. There's some pictures or paintings that go along with it. You read through that. Then it's just here's the Bible tie-in, and then this blue sidebar here. It has you flip to a map in the back of the book and look up these different cities. And that looks like this right here. So this is the map that goes along with it. Then it has a rhythms and rhymes song. So you grab that book and you open that up. And it usually tells a little bit of the history about the song, and then you can read it, sing it, listen to the version of it that they provide. Then there is a student workbook page to do. So it tells you to go do the lesson 14 workbook page, which we don't do that, but if we did, there would be that. And then if you're reading the associated chapter book literature, it tells you what you are currently reading that goes along with it. And there are some review questions, and then the hands-on history ideas where it gives you some suggestions. These are typically like go pretend to do something or build something out of blocks. They repeat those a lot. All right, so because we do classical conversations that has a history component, and because my kids are so young, we did not do all of this. Basically, I treated it more of a read aloud book. I bought the whole set together, but we didn't use everything. We read the lessons, and we would look at the maps. We would listen to the poems and the songs that went along with it. We would take a peek at the timeline, and some weeks we would do the unit project, but not all weeks. But we did not do the workbook. We did not do the additional literature, the additional read alouds. I didn't ask them the review questions. I didn't have them do the hands-on activities because it was just a lot, and it's great, but for our family, we didn't want to do that much. So we just did some of it. Now, the way Classical Conversations works is it's a 3-year cycle. So 3 years from now, we will hit cycle 3 again, and we'll be doing American history again, and my kids will be older and they will be more reading and writing independent. And so I figure we'll probably go through this again, and they will be able to do more. And we will, go a little bit deeper, do more of the workbook and the review questions and that kind of stuff. But for this time period in our life and for this age, using it more as a read aloud was perfect for us. That just worked great. So obviously I very much liked this curriculum. It fit the bill of what I was looking for as far as a fun, age-appropriate history curriculum that would go along with our CC American History focus. Because I do love to pull in supplemental books to go along with what we're learning in Classical Conversations, but that's a lot of work, and it requires, getting things from the library and hoping they have it at the right time, and you're not on a waiting list. And of course, this past year has just been weird as far as can you even go to the library, that kind of stuff. So it was really nice to know that even if I didn't pull in all the cool supplemental literature, we had something to read every single day that went close enough along to what we're learning in CC. It maybe didn't line up exactly the same week, but my kids still were able to make those connections. Oh, we learned about that in CC. Oh, we've read about this in our history book. And it was nice to have that consistent supplement for our history. And the kids absolutely loved it. Every day when we would finish reading that day's lesson, they would want to flip to the next page and say, they'd be like, what are we reading tomorrow? So they really loved it, really looked forward to it. At the beginning of the year, my oldest son was not reading independently. A few little words here and there, but he was not reading fluently. Well, by the end of the year, around Christmas, he started being able to read on his own. And one day I realized he had taken our book, the part 2 book, and he had gotten out of our little basket where we keep our history stuff, and was sitting down and just read on ahead and read the whole entire thing on his own. And I was like, well, do I go on, or are we done for the year? I decided to go on because number 1, my younger child, he cannot read yet, so I still wanted to read it aloud to him. And 2, even though my 7-year-old is reading really well, I still wanted to read it with him because there were a lot of big words, so we could discuss it, that kind of stuff. So we still went ahead and finished it out as a family. But the reason I'm telling you that is to tell you, because they loved it so much, they wanted to read on ahead through the textbook, on their own free time. So it was really popular in our family. I also really like that Notgrass, they tackle hard topics in an age-appropriate way. They don't gloss over it. They don't make it out to be where, America is always the good guys. The government always makes good choices. The presidents always make good choices, that kind of stuff. They don't go into lots of gory detail or anything like that, but they do discuss things that then opened up good discussions in our family. So things like slavery, or presidents who denounced slavery but then owned slaves themselves, as we're able to talk about, is that right? What, why do you think they did that? The Trail of Tears, Japanese internment camps, just different stuff like that were mentioned, and not in a glossed over, it was okay type of way. And then, so I was then able to talk to my kids more about that. So I liked that, because I know a lot of all history curriculums have bias. That's just how it is, because they have writers who are human, and humans have bias. But so it was good to find one that I felt wasn't too swinging too far in that direction, or the other direction that was like anti-America. We don't want that either, but just a good, I felt like it just gave a good realistic picture overview for that age, of course. There are a couple things I didn't like about it. And I want this to be a fair and honest review. They're small. It's not anything that would make me not recommend the curriculum or not use it again, but I just want to be honest and upfront. So a couple things. In a few of the chapters, the writing was like boring and choppy and hard to read. There's several authors listed, and so I don't know if like certain authors were in charge of certain chapters and one of them just was not as great of a writer as the others. I'm not sure, but there were some chapters that flowed really nicely and almost felt like a read aloud picture book. And then there were others that were like kind of hard to read and very dry, and the sentences were just like, I don't know, they didn't flow well. And I do realize part of that might be because they know young children are going to be reading this, and so they want to, make it an easier to read version. And I get that. So me as an adult using it as a read aloud, that's going to sound a little bit different, but I still just felt like it was awkward sometimes. So there was a few chapters that were kind of hard to get through. The second thing is the Bible tie-ins that are in every lesson sometimes feel kind of forced. Now, to be clear, we are a Christian family. I don't have any problem with Christian curriculum. I don't have any issue with the Bible being referenced, but I also don't feel like you have to tie every single thing in the whole entire world that has ever happened with a Bible lesson at the end. And so I felt like that, like in some chapters, there would just be, going along and doing the lesson, and then bam, the last paragraph just totally took a different spin just so they could like really shove a little bit of a Bible verse in there. I don't know. It just seemed forced to me. And so mostly I would just skip that last part when you get to that last the last paragraph, and I would just be done. Like we would be done, because basically the history story was done, and then it was just like this really random try to shove some Bible into it stuff. So, whatever, maybe everyone else enjoys that, but I just thought it was, I don't know, a little forced. And the other thing, again, it's kind of silly, and it was more my own expectations, was when I learned about this curriculum, I was really excited about the rhymes and the poems. In my head, I guess I assumed it was going to be like authentic, as in you're listening to original recordings, or, the stuff that's so far back we don't have original recordings. I thought it would at least be stylized, like if you watched a period drama or a play, and it would be in the correct accents, and it would just be more authentic. And it's not. It's just kids and adults reading the poem in their normal voice, or singing the song without a lot of accompanying music, just in their normal voice. And it was kind of a letdown. Again, it's not a big deal. I'm sure it's their budget to make the curriculum and copyright. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it was not as exciting as I was expecting. Same with the dance demonstrations. Like, I expected to watch like a movie production dance, which I know is unrealistic, but instead it was just people in current day clothes in their living room demonstrating the dance. So just to be upfront with you, so it's coming. It's fine. It just, I don't know, I had like a different idea in my head. And you can actually listen to the songs and see the dances and listen to the poems all for free online. I'll link all that stuff, but that part is free. The book is not, obviously, but all of the music that goes along with it is. So anyway, those are my 3 small little things that I didn't love about it. Overall, though, we really loved it. It was a great curriculum. That's a wrap for my review. I hope that was helpful as you were trying to decide for your family. I really recommend this curriculum. It's really fun. Kids love it. It's an easy open and go curriculum for mom or whoever teaches your kids. And so, yeah, check it out and let me know what you think.